I think a lot of sellers fear not having deals to work. They keep their happy ears going and they're afraid to ask those questions.
Yeah.
What do you say to sellers in that situation?
So part of it is, well, if you have a very shallow, dry pipeline, then that could be true. Like you need to go back and build some pipeline and you will move more into a feast, not a famine, like mindset, scarcity mindset. But the other idea is that if you look at where the difference between a really low, like call it 15% versus a higher 50% win rate is going to come from, it's not working more and more opportunities. It's going deep onto the highest value, highest potential opportunities. Because if you're treating every deal the exact same, then you're starving the high potential deals of your time and your creativity and your thoughtfulness, and you're feeding that to where it's like not going to drive any level of outcome. So if early on you can begin to decide, okay, like where are we going to go really deep together, and I'm going to qualify out others. These, I know I'm going to win these because we're going to go deep together. That's part of the value is like, even if you're like, man, I don't have like an overflowing pipeline, all the more to dial up win rate by going deep on a few that are high potential.
Well, that's why the equation of coverage is so important, right? If you have a really low win rate, you're going to need a lot of coverage. But if you've got a high win rate, you don't need to have as much coverage.
Yeah, that's right. And that's where if you start to kind of think about pipeline in terms of like a discounted or weighted approach to say, okay, well, I have some high value late stage deals that I'm going deep on, like let's spend more time to make sure that these get across the line well. Like you can feel okay because you're not saying, I just need to work toward a blind or raw top line coverage ratio, like always have 4X. No, let's look at where these deals actually are and the value of each individual deal and where you're at.
One of my favorite things to do was to say, like, what you said and what I heard could be two different things. So please tell me, did I articulate the problem the way that you perceive it? Or is there a nuance to it that I am missing? Because usually you can get actually a layer deeper because most people at their core are only going to tell you the surface level, not the underlying motivations. Because there's always emotions that are fueling the reason that this is a priority or a problem, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people miss that. It's like one of my big things is like, no one ever is like, oh man, this thing is causing me zero anxiety, so I think I'm gonna go and fix it.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's because something is like, people are worried about losing their job, or they're gonna have to do a huge layoff, or something monumental is going to happen that is causing them a tremendous amount of bad feelings, and they would like to not feel that way anymore. But if you keep it at that surface level, and you actually don't understand the driving emotions, or the reason that this is an executive priority, or why this person has been trusted to solve this problem, then you're never actually going to be able to build a meaningful business case. Is that fair?
Yes, and a couple things that you just touched on are so important. Like one of the most powerful human experiences is to feel fully known and understood. And to your point is like a lot of these problems are wrapped up in a lot of negative emotion that is like easier to ignore. One, putting it down in writing helps people see it. And then for those where you can outline this in a way where they're like, oh my gosh, finally, somebody who gets it and somebody who can express this even more effectively than I can, because I've been trying to get other people to pay attention to this and like it's gone by the wayside, like we're still trying to figure out the same thing. Writing it down creates that catharsis, which is incredibly powerful. And you're kicking in, to go back to your point on conversations versus content, when you're translating what you were talking about into written content, you're kicking into effect this reality that it feels far more permanent or real when it's written down. And so what you'll find is you'll get far sharper and more detailed feedback when you're looking at something and writing together. And it's a real thing. Cunningham's Law is the title of this, named after Ward Cunningham, the guy who created the first wiki, became kind of the technology behind Wikipedia. And so his point is like, if you really want to understand the real answer, don't ask a question, write down the wrong answer. Watch and see how people come alive and they can't wait to correct you. And that's part of the value of doing this in written form, and in this case, as it relates to a problem statement.